What's going on, guys? Josh here with ATX Guitar Lessons. This is going to be a lesson for beginners. Could be for intermediates if you're having trouble with your picking methods, but we're going to talk about how to alternate pick and alternate strum, just ways to think about it. I think sometimes people don't realize how much of your body is involved with playing guitar. But anyways, if you need to review how to hold a pick or different methods to try, go back to that particular lesson, review the information. So when we pick down or strum down, it's just a motion that comes naturally to us due to gravity, right? No matter how we're holding the pick, it just happens naturally because we are used to having that sensation of letting our arm just fall. We really don't have to do too much. So we are putting pressure from the thumb through the pick into the strings. So you want to translate that into your upstroke or up pick, but just apply it to your index finger. So you want to think about having that same sensation in your index finger pushing up through the pick across the strings. Now, one thing to note is when we set our hand on the guitar, once we have a good setup, we fall across the strings pretty easily, and part of this is due to the fact that that pick is kind of tilted up, right? This makes it easier for the pick to get across the strings. So when you come up, you want to tilt that pick down this way a little bit. You don't want to over exaggerate, but you do want it to be a little bit tilted, and it'll have an easier time getting across the strings. Another thing that helps the pick pass through the strings is to not have the pick completely perpendicular to the body or to the strings, and to kind of tilt it as you hold it like that. I kind of mentioned that in the other video, right? So this allows the pick to ride on its edge a little bit, and it glides through the strings easier than if you were to be straight up and down. It would be a lot more rigid on that tip and harder to pass through. So anyways, when you're coming back up, you do want to have a slight rotation, and there are different ways to accomplish that, right? So here I'm just kind of sitting on the guitar naturally. I fall through the strings. When I come up, I can use my fingers to kind of move the pick, change the angle, and I can also use my forearm a little bit. The forearm makes it feel like a much smaller motion, and that's one thing you want to note is you really don't have to do too much, and that's one thing that I see a lot of beginners doing. But strum a chord down, it's easy to catch all the strings, but when you strum up, what I see a lot of beginners do is try and roll their wrist too much and then catch each string of the chord, and that's just not necessary, especially when you're strumming faster. So if I just play in eighth notes, we want to get the strings ringing together as much as possible, and whether you're going slow or fast, really you're going to have resonance from the strings from when you went through in the downward direction. So all you want to think about is breaking through that first string, continuing on your path, and then preparing for your downstroke. So you're going to catch 2, 3, maybe 4 strings, and it's really not that big of a deal. You just don't want to be so focused on trying to get all 5 strings in there. It turns out to sound like this little harp effect, which could be a cool thing for another time. But if you're working on starting out strumming, you want to think about getting all those strings ringing out simultaneously, and that you really don't have to hit every string of each chord in every direction. Plus, I think it sounds better if you're not hitting the full chord each time. It just sounds too busy if you're strumming through the strings, through every string, down and up. Right? There's just too much going on there. If you kind of separate it, you kind of got a little bass treble thing going on there. So that's another thing to think about. So let's talk about that strumming, and a lot of the same things apply to picking. I'm going to give you an exercise for picking. So I'm going to show you, give you a good angle on my guitar. I'm just going to go across the 6th string here, and I'm just going to pick down, up, So I want you to watch how I maneuver around the string and change the angle of that pick. So you can see what I'm doing with my fingers, my wrist, my forearm. Everything's involved there. You want to be as relaxed as possible. And I think everybody typically understands this. It's just the movements come out so much bigger than they need to be. And so it feels very clunky. So to change the angle of that pick really takes a minimal amount of movement, right? It's really just doing that, not that, to get across the string. So you don't want to over rotate. So anyways, little exercise you can do with your right hand is alternate pick from string 6 to 1 and back to 6 with a down up motion on each string. So I move string 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's to work on your right hand. And then with your left hand, when you want to get your left hand involved, I always recommend that people come to the 5th fret. You can scoot it up or down, however you want to think about it. But basically what you're doing in the right hand for this exercise is exactly what I was just showing. So nothing really changes except for on the first string. But basically you're going to come to the 5th fret here with finger 1. Finger 2 is going to play the 6th fret. Finger 3 is going to play the 7th fret. And then the pinky is going to play the 8th fret. So you're playing 4 consecutive notes on each string, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when you come back down, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, so on and so forth. So I'll demonstrate that real quick. So that's a great warm-up exercise. I think everybody should have a warm-up exercise. You get the fingers moving around, because if you just sit down and start playing, often you won't get the result that you want, and frustration comes in after that. So I use variations of that exercise. You can do it with a metronome, try it with different rhythms, eighth notes, triplets, what have you. So anyways, if you have any questions, guys, please leave a comment. Be happy to answer them as always. And please visit the website, www.atxguitarlessons.com. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.